Broadcasting live from the Albay PIO News Center, providing you the most exclusive news update from all over the province. This is News at 12. News at 12.
In the local scene, the Department of Agriculture, Philippine Rice Research Institute, the provincial government of Albay, and 12 local government units signed a memorandum of agreement to improve rice production in salt-affected areas. The agreement covers the implementation of a province-wide integrated crop management project for saline-prone rice environments. These sites will demonstrate recommended technologies and support training and monitoring activities. The partnership will also strengthen access to certified seeds through national support programs. The project forms part of efforts to sustain rice production in vulnerable farming communities. In other story, a total of 200 families in Malinao received housing assistance from the Albay Provincial Human Settlement Office following damage caused by Typhoon Uwan. The turnover ceremony was held on April 30, 2026 for the distribution of housing materials and shelter repair kits. 100 families with totally damaged homes were given complete construction materials. These included cocoa lumber, plywood, galvanized iron sheets, and essential nails for rebuilding. Another 100 families received shelter repair kits for partially damaged houses. The kits contained tools such as pliers, shovels, saws, hammers, and cutting equipment. The shelter repair kits were donated by the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development. Albay Provincial Human Settlement Office Acting Department Head Engineer Karen B. Olaires, JD, led the distribution of the assistance. She was joined by Malinao Mayor Cheryl Capus Bilo, Vice Mayor Abner Cargulio, and other local officials. Local leaders said the assistance will help families rebuild safer and more resilient homes. In other news, the Sangguniang Panlalawigan of Albay, through its Committee on Trade and Commerce, has recommended approval of a tobacco city ordinance requiring the acceptance of Philippine coins in business transactions. The committee reviewed City Ordinance number 9-037, series of 2026, which seeks to ensure the circulation and acceptance of coins as legal tender within the city. The measure addresses reports of coin refusal in markets, transport, and other commercial transactions. It aims to prevent short-changing, discourage refusal of valid currency, and strengthen enforcement of fair business practices. Committee Chairperson Sheena Marie Sion Rubio de la Cruz clarified that the ordinance does not establish a new monetary policy. Rubio de la Cruz said the measure serves as a local consumer protection mechanism aligned with existing national laws. These include the new Central Bank Act and the No Short-Changing Act of 2016. The committee noted that enforcement must remain consistent with legal tender limits set by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. With the ordinance deemed valid and operative, the provincial board is expected to adopt a resolution formally recognizing the measure. In the national scene, the House Committee on Justice approved a report finding probable cause in the impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte, with all 55 members present voting in favor, sending the case to the plenary for further action. The report, which will be scheduled for discussion within 10 session days, will also be shared with Duterte, the complainants, and members of the Justice Panel as required by House rules. Before approval, lawmakers introduced amendments to clarify that the panel only determined probable cause and did not prove the allegations, while also adding claims that Duterte failed to divest business interests during her term. The committee also revised wording to state that the release of confidential funds was allegedly done upon Duterte's instruction as part of the consolidated impeachment complaints. The Senate signaled it is ready for a possible trial, with Senate President Vicente Soto III saying preparations are underway as lawmakers await the House plenary's decision on whether to advance the impeachment case. In other story, the Philippine National Police (PNP) reported a 13% drop in crime rates after the Safer Cities initiative was launched on April 6, 2026, compared to the previous 3 months. PNP Chief General Jose Milencio Ortades said the decline was observed when comparing crime data from December 2025 to March 2026 with figures recorded after the program began. He added that crime rates fell even more, about 30% when compared to the same period in 2024 and 2025, including the election season in 2025. Ortades noted that this reduction came despite increased police efforts and funding during the 2025 elections. The Safer Cities initiative enforces stricter rules on public drinking, loitering without shirts, karaoke use, and curfew for minors, but it has drawn criticism, including a case where a Mandaluyong resident was fined 500 pesos for not wearing a shirt while doing home repairs. In other news, the Senate Ethics Committee has asked Senator Ronaldo Bato de la Rosa to explain his absence from sessions and to comment on a proposal to change Senate rules that could impose a no work, no pay policy on lawmakers. Senator J.V. Ejercito said the proposal is linked to the complaint against de la Rosa, noting that current Senate rules do not clearly penalize absenteeism, and any change would need approval from the full Senate. Ejercito also said de la Rosa has not responded to a suggestion to voluntarily give up his salary and allowances while absent, which could help address the complaint. The committee dismissed 4 of 9 complaints against senators for being without basis, deferred 3 others for further review, and said the complainants may still refile their cases. And in the news outside the country, President Donald Trump said that very positive discussions were taking place with Iran aimed at ending the conflict, even as he announced that U.S. forces would soon begin escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai said Tehran had presented a 14-point proposal focused on stopping the war, and that the United States had responded through messages sent via Pakistani mediators. Trump also said talks had been encouraging and noted that a ceasefire had begun on April 8 after earlier U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran, followed by Iranian retaliation, while later peace talks in Islamabad have so far failed to break the deadlock. The Strait of Hormuz has remained heavily disrupted since the conflict began, with Iran restricting maritime traffic and the U.S. imposing countermeasures, while Trump said Washington would now help guide international ships through the area under the plan he called Project Freedom. U.S. Central Command said the operation would begin Monday and involved warships, aircraft, drones, and about 1,500 personnel, describing the mission as support for regional security and humanitarian needs for crews stranded at sea. In other story, Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon, killing at least one person and injured 4 rescuers, according to Lebanon's health ministry, as cross-border attacks continue despite a fragile ceasefire linked to Israel-Hezbollah conflict. The ministry said one strike in Arab Salim killed 1 person and wounded 3 others, including a child, while another strike in Sharifa injured 5 people, among them 4 rescue workers linked to a Hezbollah-affiliated emergency group. The Lebanese official condemned the attacks and cited international humanitarian law, saying medical teams and facilities should be protected, even as Israel issued evacuation warnings for more than 10 villages in the south, including areas in the Bati district. The escalation comes as both sides continue limited attacks under a shaky truce, with Israel warning it could strike Hezbollah beyond Yellow Line, while drone attacks and retaliations have kept tensions high along the border. And finally, in the news outside the country with reference to the Philippines, the 48th Association of Southeast Asian Nations ASEAN Summit to be held in our country in Cebu is approaching, with economic ministers directing officials to develop a regional plan to address the economic impact of rising tensions in the Middle East. The strategy will be presented at the summit next week and is designed to better coordinate policies, align sector efforts, and manage the region's economic challenges quickly effective. Officials said the conflict is driving higher energy, food, and transport costs, while exposing ASEAN's reliance on imported energy and risks in key shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz significantly. Proposed measures include strengthening food security systems, improving supply chain resilience, diversifying energy sources through renewables, and supporting regional projects such as power and gas networks, as well as promoting sustainable tourism stability. ASEAN also reaffirmed its commitment to avoid trade restrictions, strengthen trade agreements and digital tools, and implement coordinated responses that remain consistent with global trade rules. And that's the news at 12, May 5, 2026. We'll be back tomorrow for more news updates. Thanks to our news writers, Naomi Ruth Hernandez and LJ Lorejo. And on the technical side, Chad Bobis. And our Provincial Information Office, OIC, Maria Gonzalez. And under the supervision of our Governor, Noel Irusal. I am Greg Hallare. Thank you for subscribing. Albay in my heart.